Hi, I'm Dan from HValley Tools, and today we're going to be showing you the universal router subbase. Main advantage of using a universal base plate like this is typically, especially with palm routers, but with any routers really, the footprint of the base is not very large, especially when you're doing edge routing. If you're doing a profile on the side and you don't feel comfortable with your fingers right around the base, right where the spinning bit is, you're down on the workpiece, your face is right near it. It can get a little uncomfortable, especially with that bit spinning really fast. So the advantage is you now have a much wider surface area to ride along the wood. It prevents tipping, especially with edge routing. And you also are able to hold it with two hands and have a firm grip on the entire router. The other thing that's nice is, so for example with this router, this base plate just has a circle for the bit to go through. There's no spot in here for a bushing to go. So if you were trying to pattern out a sign or a mortise, this is something that can go on either side of the base plate so that you can center it and then ride your profile on this little bushing. But this doesn't have that. Okay, so now that the base plate is set up and you want to use this guide bushing, you are going to need to know that this thing is centered on the router. So before we just eyeballed it. So what we got to do to use this guide bushing and this center pin, also available at HValley Tools, is that first thing is that we're going to remove the acrylic plate. And like before, we really just eyeballed these screws and like kind of tighten it down. We're going to loosen these just enough to give us some play. So now you can see that this plate can kind of move freely wherever it needs to. So the order of operations here is that we're going to drop this guide bushing on, then drop this center self-centering pin in. And when you push it down, it is now moving this plate to make sure that it is dead center where the router is, where the bit is. So if I were a little off and it was kind of moved off to the side here, that was like that, and we drop this thing in, put the pin in where the bit goes, press it down, it kind of locks it all in. So now we're in a good spot where we can re-tighten these screws, and we know for a fact that this is now centered in. Now when we take the pin out and the bushing, you know that that's dead center. So we are now able to use this guide bushing. This guide bushing will drop in after this acrylic plate's back on. Show them, I'm gonna have to undo them again. Okay, now the acrylic's back on. We can drop in our guide bushing and our thread sleeve. Tighten that on. And now when we put it back on, we know that that is dead center, which is definitely going to help because when you're making your template, you know that the template has that specific gap that you made the template for, and you need it to be a specific size. When that's centered, you know that that's going to be a consistent gap around all the edges. So if you want to pick up one of these universal router bases, you can go to HValleyTools.com, or you can give us a call if you have any questions, and it's available now at a really affordable price.